tonight's big stories. A consortium led by San Miguel has bagged the coveted 170 billion peso contract to upgrade and rehabilitate the Ninoy Aquino International Airport.
A House lawmaker files 2 bills, a heartbreak leave and a wellness leave for single employees. What do employers think about this? We'll discuss that and more along with a wage hike proposal with Federation of Philippine Chambers of Commerce President Cecilio Pedro.
And authorities arrested a Filipina suspected of facilitating fund transfers for terrorist activities, including the Marawi siege back in 2017.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina.
I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Shawn.
Kicking off this Friday with some upbeat news for a change.
It is very, very good news, finally.
For a change. The big corporate news of the day I'm talking about, a consortium led by San Miguel has bagged the highly coveted 170 billion peso privatization of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA. Earlier today, the Transportation Department announced that the SMC, SAP and Company Consortium was the winning bidder for the NAIA rehab project. To be precise, the winning group is made up of San Miguel, RMM Asian Logistics, RLW Aviation Development, and Incheon International Airport Corporation, which, as its name suggests, is the operator of South Korea's international airport. The group will rehabilitate, operate, and maintain NAIA over the next 15 years with a possible 10-year extension, bringing the total concession period to 25 years. This marks San Miguel's second airport project after it won the franchise to the Bulacan Airport in 2020.
The clincher was the consortium agreeing to share 82.16% of its gross revenues with government. That's more than double than what the other 2 bidders were offering. The next closest offer was from the GMR-led group, which proposed sharing a little over 33% to government. This means the projected earnings of government from the NAIA rehabilitation could reach up to 900 billion pesos in 25 years. That's equivalent to an annual profit of 36 billion pesos, much higher than the over 1.7 billion pesos the government currently earns from NAIA per year. And to achieve that, SMC SAP Consortium is committing 122.3 billion pesos in capital investments for the airport's privatization. The group will also have to make an upfront payment of 30 billion pesos to government with an annual annuity payment of 2 billion pesos.
We do need a participation of the private sector. It's about time that we should try to think and modernize this airport.
I love that. Modernize this airport, finally.
Oh my gosh, finally. This is some great news. Pero it was so weird. Remember, this was supposed to be announced like a couple of days before today. But
they
na-delay
delayed
siya.
it, that's
supposedly,
right.
okay, supposedly, according to sa mga marites, kumukontra daw yung mga tao. They're asking, how can SMC, SAP Consortium afford to share 82% to the government in revenues? Pero kanina
So
sa
presser,
they were actually able to answer that. And okay, let's listen to Transportation Yusek Bata, no? I think he answered it pretty well.
Our solicited PPP experience is replete with examples of private sector ingenuity surprising the government. If we look at, for example, the DOTR's experience for the Mactan Cebu International Airport, originally we thought that the bid parameter would be lowest ask of payment from lowest viability gap funding. We ended up with a 14 billion payment to government. So instead of government paying to the concessionaire, the private sector paid 14 billion to the government. So our PPP, our solicited PPP experience in the Philippines, again, is replete with examples of private sector efficiencies, ingenuity, surprising the government with the solutions to government problems.
In short, let them worry about it, right?
It's actually, it's the consortium's problem and nobody else's, how they will remit 82.6.
And anyways,
Sabi naman ni RSA, public service naman daw ito, di ba? He's not looking, I mean, parang he's giving the government what is due.
In any case, a detailed financial proposal was submitted, and San Miguel, in a statement, also said our proposal is designed not only to elevate NAIA to world-class standards, but also to ensure that the government benefits. Maybe why they proposed that huge share, right? 82% to the government, which,
To me,
as you
what-
said, raised a
yeah.
lot of eyebrows.
And for me, if they want to give it, they're the ones who have to explain it to their shareholders kung bakit. And, San Miguel's is one of the oldest conglomerates, one of the most successful conglomerates. If they want to share, why are we questioning it?
If they have a track record, right? But I'm sure I wasn't alone in imagining what my dreams were for the airport. Diba?
yeah. I was with you
ano
in
mga
that
naisip
dream.
ninyo? Yung totoo.
Better bathrooms, number one. Thank you very much. Please,
Ano?
please, please. The bathrooms make all the difference.
Honestly, no. More chairs,
More chairs.
more
that's right.
chairs,
Better restaurants.
Better restaurants, better concessionaires, right?
less pila.
Especially for the ones whose flights are always getting delayed. We're not gonna name airlines, pero when your flight gets delayed, there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to kill time.
Tapos
right?
pagka bumaba yung mga, di ba sa arrival area, laging binabaha doon.
Yes.
Diba?
Yeah.
And it's so
During
hot,
this
like
rainy
the
season.
heat greets you when you get out of the airport.
You're talking about Terminal 4, yung domestic terminal, na kailangan mo maghagdanan pa, di ba? Kasi walang tube. Or yung bus na umiikot.
Ay, nako, marami
Ito nga,
talaga tayong comments
speaking
dyan.
of airlines, no, they also actually have concerns, apparently. Now, I thought they would be also super happy, but apparently, their concern is, baka daw magmahal yung mga airport charges sa kanila. For now, no comment muna yung Airline Operators Council, but they did say that it would be premature to send out a detailed comment until we receive the full details of the basis of the proposed increases.
Because we are still. I mean, this is just the start of it, right? They've just literally announced the winning bid, and there's still a whole process to go through. In fact, the DOTR is only targeting to turn over the operations of NAIA to San Miguel September 2024 this year.
So on
malayo.
September
We're
11.
still
Siguro
September
they could have
11
picked a
actually.
different date, no, na hindi 9/11.
Well, 9/11
naman,
could mean
ano?
something else for us, right?
Yeah,
It's the day the
911
airport gets
rescue.
privatized.
Rescue the airport.
Pero ano mangyayari dun sa pag turnover?
I guess we have to figure that out. Now, this is good news for a lot of us, for us passengers as well. Pero hindi lang yung airlines ang worried. No? Employees of NAIA are likewise worried that they will lose their jobs once operations are turned over to the San Miguel-led consortium in September. We have Gerard de la Peña joining us to tell us about the government's response to those concerns. Gerard, what do you have?
Well, Shawn, I actually brought up these concerns to Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista, and here's how he responded.
Walang mawawala ng trabaho.
So there's the answer, Shawn. As the Secretary explained, wala raw mawawala ng trabaho dahil yung ibang involved sa operations will be transferred or absorbed by the new operator. The others, meanwhile, will remain under the Manila International Airport Authority, which still remains as the airport's regulator. Despite this clarification, the MIA Employees Union are still opposing the privatization project. They say they were not consulted about it and that there is still no assurance that no one will be laid off.
Kung may malilipat man, ang ibibigay sa kanila is probationary for 6 months. Hindi po natin alam kung after 6 months, ano ang mangyayari sa kanila. At hindi po rin kasiguruhan na pag nalipat sila, magtatagal sila doon. Dahil, alam po natin kapag private company, hanggat makakamura, magtitipid yan para lang tumaas ang share.
Shawn, the San Miguel Corporation is expected to take over the operations and maintenance of the NAIA in 3 to 6 months. They added that the passengers may start seeing changes by as early as 2025. Shawn.
2025 can't come soon enough. Thanks for that update, Gerard de la Peña.
In handling the NAIA rehabilitation, the SMC-led consortium will not only have to meet the government's high expectations, but also, of course, those of the public. Where should they even begin? Let's ask that question to urban planner Paulo Alcazaren. Good evening, Paulo. Thanks for being with us again.
Good evening. Nice to be here again.
Let me tap into your infinite wisdom and expertise when it comes to urban planning. Saan dapat magsimula itong rehab project na to?
Well, you guys already mentioned it almost in the order of of importance. Seating, toilets, and my third ask is better baggage handling. So these are the things that everyone expects of a world-class airport when you get there. there's a place to sit and wait in comfort. And my problem with a lot of the seats in Philippine airports is if you buy a cup of coffee, there's no way, no place to put it. It just falls off, and you spill everything. And then the toilets, of course, it's a no-brainer. Pity our women who have to queue up longer than a man. I always see that that's the first thing that you do when you get to an airport. And it's just that not just the NAIA, almost every airport. Well, Cebu is a little better. And then the baggage handling is, of course, something I can't comprehend. Could not be improved, and I'm sure with a private company coming in with efficiency measures that could be improved.
Okay, kayo po ay urban planner, you've done many projects. I was curious I was wondering what you thought about the SMC bid, 82% compared to 33%. Is that really like possible, feasible, viable? I mean, parang how was that figure drummed up by the consortium? What did you think of that when you saw it?
Well, as everyone else, I was surprised, but I'm sure they're very good in crunching the numbers, and they made sure that they crunched it several times before putting the bid in. And I'm optimistic that they can do the job.
Paulo, one problem with, I think, the NAIA terminals is that we have 4. They're not exactly super accessible if you have to switch terminals. That's such a headache. We have 4 NAIA terminals. Which one is the most problematic in your opinion?
Well, you start with the oldest, which is 4. It's very small. It was the original 1950s airport, and then you go up the line to NAIA 1, 2, and 3, and all of them came online very late, and by the time it was fully operational, all 4 of them were obsolete. So with a private company running, and they'll make sure that everything's integrated. The connectivity between the 4 is also nangyari yan because of the historical expansion of the airport itself, and so the opportunities to put the terminals happened, and there was no infrastructure to connect between the 4. There was supposed to be a tunnel that connected between 2 and 3, but it was never built. So that's the story of a lot of government projects. Maganda yung mga balak at maganda yung mga design, pero hindi na natutupad yung either the master plans or the detailed plans.
Can convenience really be achieved, Paulo, though, given that sobrang limitado nung space nung NAIA terminals because they are in, the middle of the city. They're not, out of town
The
like the
population is quite dense, unlike in other countries where the airport is much further out.
We have an international airport that's the closest to the center of the metropolis compared to almost everywhere. Incheon is farther away. Changi is 26 kilometers away. Tokyo and Hong Kong is also very far away, so they have room to expand. In any case, everybody is agreed that the lifespan of Manila International Airport, as it stands now, is only 15 to 25, which is exactly the lease window for SMC.
600 hectares to be exact for NAIA. But when you go to our airports, do you have those moments where you try to envision what could happen with our country's gateway? Give us a picture of what you'd like to see it as. Probably imbibing the Filipino spirit, the identity, character. Make us excited here.
Well, I'd be excited if I can get to the airport from any part of the city within 30 minutes, as is possible in Hong Kong or Singapore, even Taipei. Well, Taipei, but about 40 minutes. So 30 to 40 minutes, that's the first thing that would excite anyone. And that can be had by the intermodal connectivity that is part of the ask of the government in this PPP thing. When you get to the airport, of course, one thing that struck me in almost all of our airports except Terminal 1, which was designed by Leandro Locsin, is that all the other airports were designed by foreigners. And Filipino architects, my fellow architects, have not been given the opportunity to express themselves or help express the Filipino identity through the designs of the airports and the interiors, and also to imbue yung loob dito kailangan ng Philippine art and sculpture, which again we're very rich in that, but we don't see that.
Hey, that's a great point. Who are some
Yeah.
of the names that they should consider in terms of the design of it?
Well, the usual suspects would be Ed Calma, Eloy Casas, Bong Resio, the young ones, Jason Buensalido, William T, WTA, a whole bunch of people, even our architects from Cebu. We have a whole bunch of people, and I would like to see that the main gateway be designed by a Filipino, but also our regional gateways designed by architects from those regions themselves. We're world-class architects, but the problem is that we're not given the opportunity in our own country to express Filipino identity through our creativity, or the creativity of the architects, as well as the other professions involved, which is of course urban planning, landscape architecture, and interior design. We have complete teams that can make of our airports truly representative of our culture and our warmth as a welcoming people.
Right. Speaking of regional airports, Paulo, actually my last long-haul flight, I decided to fly out of Clark, despite actually not having any discounts or much price difference and flying out of NAIA. And of course, I did take my own car there to Pampanga. The airport was, not fully maximized. It did make me sad. Now, they do have a world-class airport, but it seems that building the airport is not enough. You have to have a lot of supporting infra. You mentioned getting to the airport in time. Took me a couple hours to get to Clark in a private car. A lot of people don't have that same luxury. Should we stop at just the terminals itself, or should we expand to other accessory projects that should be built, like Transpo?
Oh, well, there are million moving parts in building cities, towns, and regions, and terminals, airports, seaports are only part of that, because it's a transport network. But the transport network must be fully integrated. It will help that the north-south, the North Rail, hopefully will be coming in soon, and that should connect. Our problem is the connectivity of all of this, either rail, bus, or even pedestrian transport is not integrated to all of these elements like the airport. In other countries, you get out and you can get a public bus. I mean, there are buses in NAIA, the point-to-points, but it's hard to access. It's not regular. There is, until now, no connection to our MRT, LRT, which should have been thought of in the first place. In other countries, you can hop on the train from the city to the airport. And one thing I would suggest also is that hopefully San Miguel will institute what's known as city check-ins, that you have in a lot of cities where you don't have to bring your baggage to the airport. Just check it in the city itself, or in the mall.
Right, like
And
the
then just get
IFC
your-
in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Just get yourself, your body to the airport with your hand carry, your personal carry, and that's it. It will save so much time, even from the point of view of having to queue up with hundreds and thousands of people.
And then just very quickly before we let you go, Paulo, I wanted to get some updates on the Pasig River rehabilitation
Oh, yes.
project. How's that going? How's that coming
Very
along?
Daming tao nung
Sobrang
Valentine.
daming
Ang
nagde-date.
dami.
Just
Ano yung
to let
next
everyone
stage?
know, because of the talagang ang daming tao, we need to close it every Monday for maintenance, and to finish and connect with the extensions that are already being done. In fact, Secretary Gosar was at the Pasig this afternoon, looking at progress on the eastern and western extensions, and we hope to triple or quadruple the length that you have now by summer.
But just to add to the conversation on NAIA, what would you think would be the greatest challenge of the SMC group when it comes to rehabilitating our airports, alam po natin na pagka meron tayong inaayos na infrastructure, may titiisin muna tayo. Laging, kailangan magtiis muna tayo ng traffic kasi may construction. Ano ba yung dapat nating asahan in the next coming years? And also, what would they have to hurdle in terms of the existing infrastructure already to actually make those conveniences come to life? Like, for example, the 30-minute time frame going to the airport and everything that we mentioned.
I don't think there's any serious impediment so long as they have the corporate will and they have the funds to do it. Yung pagtitiis natin is already there. It's already given. I don't think it will only get worse, and that's not under the control of San Miguel. It's really a much larger context of the lack of mass transport integrated system, and that's beyond them. Unless, of course, they want to bid to manage the entire metropolitan Manila, and I would welcome that.
There's not going to be any
So long as they don't put the Parex over the river.
Nako, that's a different
He did.
discussion.
I do remember RSA did promise to put another exit kasi nagkakaproblema sa Skyway NAIA
And
X.
speaking of that, are there not going to be any right-of-way issues this time around? Kasi that's always the one that holds up these major infrastructure projects.
Of course, you will have right of way if you're trying to. But the thing is, you cannot solve the traffic congestion by building more roads or more flyovers. The point is, we need to connect the LRT, MRT, and that's there's only a very short gap. The train depot is literally 100 meters away from Terminal 4. And it's again a no-brainer to try and connect. They've already done so with the LRT1 extension. All the way, if you can connect to Cavite, you can connect to the airport. And so it's just a matter of getting all your ducks in a row. Our experience with the Pasig River dealing with 15 government agencies is, of course, very difficult. But if you just lock them all in a room, stop them from going to the toilet and make a decision before you can go out, I think it can be done.
Corporate will. Saka it's not always more roads, but gaya na sabi niyo, filling in the gaps that are there.
Fantastic insights as always. We hope the powers that be are listening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, urban planner and architect Paulo Alcazaren.
Thank you very much.
Well, up next, should single employees be granted heartbreak and wellness leaves on top of the 100 peso wage increase currently being pushed? We'll ask that question to Cecilio Pedro, president of the Federation of Filipino Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Don't go away. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching a big story here on One News. A lawmaker has filed 2 bills that aim to grant single employees, hindi kayo kasama, in a country.
Yun yung unang alam ko eh. Bakit hindi kami kasama?
and
The idea come from you?
in proposing the measures. Cagayan de Oro 1st District Representative Lordan Suan said Valentine's Day can be a minefield, so it's important to relieve singles of social pressures. Suan's House Bill number 9932, or the proposed Singles Wellbeing Leave Act, aims to provide single employees in both the public and private sectors with an unpaid leave on February 15, that's the day after Valentine's. House Bill 9931, or the proposed Heartbreak Recovery and Resilience Act, meanwhile, suggests a 1-day unpaid leave after heartbreak for employees below 25 years old, 2 days unpaid leave for those between 25 to 35 years old, and 3 days unpaid leave for workers 36 years old and above.
36.
So this is a form of recognizing the legitimacy of the distress nung tao na nakipaghiwalay ng jowa niya. So pag unprocessed kasi yung emotional distress, nakakababa yun ng productivity.
Teka lang, bakit mas maraming days kapag mas matanda ka?
Feeling ko dapat baliktad kasi mas mabilis mag-recover yung mas mature, di ba?
Di ba? Feeling ko din nga.
Isip ko eh.
Okay, anyway, related to that, still on labor matters, more employers have been voicing out their opposition to this legislated wage hike being proposed by the Senate. Now, the idea is to add 100 pesos to the daily pay of minimum wage earners. More than 10 of the country's biggest business groups, led by the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI, have written to Senate President Mig Zubiri, arguing that the wage hike will hurt MSMEs and worsen inflation. The group said that 5 million workers will benefit, but at the expense of 47 million informal workers.
Baka naman hindi kailangan yung wage ang increase. Baka naman kailangan ibaba yung presyo ng bilihin para yung current wage natin makover. Kinakabahan ho ang mga business people, lalong-lalo na ho sa Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, ay maapektuhan lang yung 5% o 5 million ng formal sector. Pero maiiwan ho yung mga informal sector. Pag tinaas ho nyo yung sweldo ng 5 million, tataas ang presyo ng bilihin eh. So, apektado ngayon yung informal sector, which comprises 90%.
The position paper against the wage hike, as we said, was signed by the country's biggest business groups, including PCCI, the IT and Business Process Association, or IBPAP, and the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Incorporated, or FFCCCI. And here tonight to help us dissect this further, we have with us live via Zoom Cecilio Pedro. He's the president of FFCCCI. Good evening, Sir Cecilio, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Magandang gabi po.
Oh, good evening, good evening. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Pleasure for me to join you in this very important discussion on the wages.
Very important, Mr. Pedro. So I'm going to get right into it. I read the position paper, but for the benefit of the people who did not see this position paper, tell us what the business groups have discussed and what you're proposing to Senate.
You know, there's a misconception that the employers are not interested in the welfare of laborers. Alam nyo, para sa akin, mas importante yung salary increases based on productivity. Importante po sa amin, yung mga laborers namin will be able to earn enough to sustain their family, to sustain their livelihood. Ito po'y mahalaga po sa amin. Dahil naniniwala kami, I believe that a happy labor will produce a lot more than disheartened laborer. So it's very important for us to promote the right wages for our laborers based on productivity. Right now, currently, I'm not saying that we are not producing enough. We are doing all right. And our main concern at this point in time is inflation is starting to level off. We're reaching a point where starting to go down to see inflation coming down. And at this point in time, if you immediately raise 100 peso on top of our minimum wage, that's exactly more than 15 to 16% which is really, really dangerous at this point. Dahil po yung interest rates natin mataas pa rin, dahil yung cost of raw materials mataas pa rin, and there are many other factors that will give us or give the manufacturers all the reasons to increase their prices. At this point, medyo hirap pa yung mga manufacturers. So we want them to maintain at this point, maybe in the next couple of months, we can see better development, and it's about time to raise wages. And at that time, let's leave it to tripartite, where labor is represented, where management is represented, and the government is represented to raise prices in a right way, in a right environment for us, para hindi ma-apekto yung majority, which is about 90%, which is micro and middle income companies. At this point, medyo delikado. Yan ang position namin. So why raise? Diba? We're after inflation. I think the whole world is in this process of reducing inflation. And why we are right in the middle of this challenge. So sana, wag po ngayon.
Okay, so linawin lang natin, no, Sir Sil, na tutol kayo dun sa fact na this is a legislated wage hike. Marami naman kasi, a lot of people are wondering kasi, ba't pa kailangan i-legislate yan? I think it's only happened once and over 20, maybe 30 years ago na. You're just favoring, kumbaga, a more equal kind of a conversation, a more open and inclusive conversation, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. The point is, we have to find balance between the labor, between management, and between the government economic leaders. Alam nila kung ano dapat wages needed for us to move forward. At this point in time, if we legislate without considering all these factors into the picture, baka biglang tumaas ang presyo, lalo mahirapan yung mga minimum wage workers natin dahil yung pagtaas ng presyo may be more than the increase that we will be giving them. So ito'y aya namin. We want to maintain as much as possible the current trend of moving down first our inflation, and then to reach a point where we think this is the right time to increase wages, then we move forward. So kami, naniniwala kami, the labor is entitled to all the benefits that will be accrued to all of us as managers or as management or owners of companies. Naniniwala po kami dyan. But not at the expense of inflation whereby sila din mahihirapan. And predominantly, mga small and medium companies will be affected. Yung mga malalaki, walang problema yan. They have their own CBA, collective bargaining agreements, which is giving more. In our company, we're giving more than what is required by a minimum wage. So, kailangan natin yung at least consider at this point in time the environment, the inflation, the interest rates, the cost of raw materials. All this will have to be put in place before we decide on the legislated. And the bill, I think, is seeking a legislation of 100 pesos across the board.
Yes.
So, hindi lang yung minimum wage, pati yung mga mataas sa winning wage. Kailangan may adjustment dahil may difference between the two. So, delikado at this point, I think, or we think, this may not be the right time.
Mr. Cecilio, you mentioned timing. But how exactly can we raise wages more equitably given that our minimum wage is very, very far from the living wages? Kung sa NCR po, nasa 573 to 610 ang minimum. Ang living wage po natin ay nasa 1,188. Malaki po yung disparity. I mean, how do we do this in a way? You mentioned basing it off productivity. How do we do that eventually for our workers para naman hindi masyadong malaki yung gap?
Yung minimum wage in many other parts of the world is no longer effective. What is needed at this point is to consider prices of commodities. Pag lalong tumataas yung prices of commodities, no matter how much you raise your minimum wage, hindi rin sila makakahabol sa inflation. Yan ang challenge natin. And yung inflation natin is at this point in time is stabilizing. Kumbaga, bumababa na ngayon. Kahit konting-konti lang ang binababa ng inflation natin. So, bantayan natin yung inflation natin. And considering that the interest rates hopefully will also come down in the very near future. Ngayon is still stable at 6.5% as dictated by BSP. And I expect hopefully by the second quarter, on the end of second quarter, bababa na yan. So there is now optimism on the part of owners or managers to hopefully increase the salary take-home of our minimum wage earners. Yan ang challenge natin. Kung sabay-sabay, tumataas na yung presyo, tumataas yung interest rates, hindi pa bumababa yung interest rates, we face all these challenges. Meron pang logistics, tumataas din dahil oil price is still very high. So all of these factors will give us the incentive to increase prices. Yun lang the only area where we can bring profits to the companies to increase price. And this is not good for the consumer eventually.
Okay,
so
Sir
at this
Sil?
point in time, wag muna.
Sir Sil, in the meantime, habang inantay natin bumaba yung inflation, waiting for the right timing.
There's other proposals.
And other proposals. What kind of ideas are you seeing other businesses perhaps implementing in the near term to ensure na ma-close natin yung inequality gap, so to speak? Meron po ba kayong nakikitang mga great ideas dyan sa ibang mga MSMEs, other smaller businesses that they're implementing in the near term?
For me, I would go for incentives. Okay? Let's say, for example, you're producing 100 pieces today at this minimum wage, which is maybe 600 pesos. If you produce tomorrow at 120, I will increase 20%. Easily, okay? If you produce, let's say, 30% more, I will increase by 30%. Gawin natin incentive for wage earners to produce more, to be more efficient, to be more effective in production. Ang challenge natin is really productivity. Pag tumaas ang productivity at kumita ang kumpanya, lalong magiging generous ang managers or owners to give to the minimum wage. Kasi napapansin ko talagang nahihirapan is mga minimum wage earners. Lalo na yung mga people with disabilities. I employ a third of my production crews are from the PWDs, hearing impaired. Sila ang pinaka-nahihirapan. But fortunately in our company, lahat po ng hearing impaired, they are earning 20 or 30% more than minimum wage dahil po sila ay very productive. Okay. They focus on their production and wala silang disturbance dahil hindi sila nakakarinig. So that is for me a very very positive thing of employing the hearing impaired. And they are rewarded with better pay, with better incentives.
Talking about
So good to
disturbance, paano po yung mga heartbroken?
Narinig niyo po ba yung mga proposal?
Heartbreak and wellness leaves.
Kasi nagbasa ko dito, meron sa ibang bansa kasi yung ganito. And it
Heartbreak
works for
leave.
mental health.
Okay.
It works.
And in fairness,
Specifically,
okay.
heartbreak leave.
Hindi ko sigurado kung heartbreak leave sa ibang bansa.
Yung tawag.
Pero
Yun nga. Pero unpaid naman tong mga leaves. What's your opinion kung unpaid naman tong mga leaves? At least di mo kailangan.
kumbaga parang hindi ka maiilang humingi na leave sa boss mo.
But it's still a day off.
Kasi it's a right.
It's a day off. So your productivity
Even though
will be
it's
affected.
unpaid,
Pero
yeah.
at least on the part of the employer, walang gastos. What are your thoughts, Sir Sil?
We just celebrated Valentine's Day. The other day, in our company, we have free breakfast, lunch, and dinner during Valentine's Day. So lahat ng walang date, they can come and enjoy each other with free meals. O binibigyan pa namin ng bulaklak. Every employee is given a bulaklak to celebrate Happy Valentine's Day. The key there is to make them happy. Make them enjoy the work. The workplace is a place where they can also celebrate Valentine's Day. You don't have to go out. You don't have to take your partner to a restaurant to enjoy Valentine's Day. Isa lang yan, to make them happy. And the key here is a happy workforce will produce a happy product.
So,
okay, like
so
what we're
pro po
doing.
kayo o anti? Ano pong say nyo dito sa heartbreak and wellness leaves?
Heartbreak is something we hope all of us will go through that process. So it's how you cope with your heartbreak. The key here is in spite of the heartbreak, there is always a better day ahead of us.
Max naman.
Let's overcome our heartbreak.
So papayag po ba kayo sa
Temporary lang
unpaid
yan.
leave o
Oo,
hindi?
wala.
Papayag po kayo sa unpaid leave?
Payag naman ako. Unpaid leave, pero they have to be productive.
Okay.
Pag
Okay.
hindi sila productive, tapos may unpaid leave, double whammy kami, ano?
Sir
As
Sil,
employer, di ba?
since
Oo,
we're
so
on the
kailangan-
topic,
Responsible.
Sir,
Yeah,
since we're
dealing
on
with
the
the
topic,
heartbreak.
mental health issues. Okay, I think heartbreak falls under that. But of course, marami tayong mental health issues. A lot came up during the pandemic. I was wondering if business owners now, in 2024, are concerned about this also. And have you guys adjusted your policy, siguro, no, to accommodate such incidents or instances?
Mental health is very important for us. The key in our mental health is spiritual health. So we have regular Bible study, we have regular fellowship, exactly to address this particular concern, which is mental health. If you're mentally sound, you will be also very productive. The key there is they have concerns, they have problems, they can bring it up, and we will address it. Importante pa yung mental health. It's important not just for the laborers, but also for the managers and all who are stakeholders of the company. The key is to take care of your people inside the company. They are the most important asset of the company. You will make or break because you have good people or bad people. Bad mental health will destroy the company.
Right.
Good mental health will earn the company so much profit.
Indeed.
So take care of the mental health.
Yes.
Wise
indeed.
words,
Okay,
wise words.
before we let you go, Mr. Pedro, I need to ask you about this. A couple of months ago, or a few months ago, SM Investments Vice Chair Cecilio made a lot of headlines for saying that she was a bit more cautious about the growth outlook this year, given the tensions in the West Philippine Sea. And she says that we shouldn't be too antagonistic and should approach this through peaceful means. I was wondering if you could give us a better sense. You represent a large business chamber in the country, one of the most important ones, I should add. I was wondering if you could give us a better sense of what your members are saying, how they're viewing the geopolitical tensions with China at the moment.
Yeah, the geopolitical problems or crisis we are faced today is being addressed by both countries, both China and the Philippines. They have decided to come together and address this concern. The key here is we have to be friends with everyone. I have a lot of inquiries from China looking at investment on the Philippines, bringing their factories over. Dahil marami po sa kanila, nawawala ng mga orders galing sa West, galing sa America. They want to transfer out of China. And where will they transfer to? They have to look at Southeast Asian countries, and Philippines is one of them. So the main concern is peace and stability. We need to have peace in the country. So we have to be friends with everyone. The West Philippine Sea is an issue which is very hard to address by private sector. Well, the government will take care of it. I'm sure President BBM and Xi Jinping, they have their own ideas and they will come to terms eventually. Wala tayong choice eh. Whether it's for China, whether it's for the Philippines, peace is the ultimate solution. We cannot afford antagonistic approach or anything that will destroy the peace in the neighborhood or in Southeast Asia. Tingnan natin yung Russia and Ukraine. Ang gulo-gulo dyan, ano? Tingnan natin ang Middle East between Israel and Palestine. Ang gulo-gulo, no? So mahihirapan sila to move forward. So they're now looking at Asia. This is the place where we want to maintain peace. So let's find solutions for peace. Let's find solutions to address the little alitan, the little sovereignty sa supposedly. Pwede naman itabi natin, ano? Pag-usapan natin ang investment, hayaan mo muna natin yung problema sa sovereignty. Let's keep it on the side and let's move forward with investment and business.
In short, the chamber isn't too worried about the ongoing disputes in the West Philippine Sea.
We are not, because we believe we have a very strong relationship with China over so many hundreds of years. China never invaded any country. Same with the Philippines. We never invaded any countries. We want peace, and let that continue. Let that stability continue, and in that way, we will have prosperity because more and more countries will come in and invest in this beautiful country.
Okay, we're going to have to leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your insights. That was Cecilio Pedro, President of the Federation of Filipino Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry Incorporated.
Okay, pahinga muna tayo. We're gonna pause for a quick break, but the big story will be right back in just a bit. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
In world news, Greece has legalized same-sex marriage, marking a landmark victory for supporters of the LGBTQ+ community in the country. The landmark ruling makes Greece the first Orthodox Christian country to give same-sex couples the right to marry and adopt children. LGBT advocates gathered on the streets of Athens to celebrate the victory, which comes after decades of campaigning for marriage equality. The bill was approved by 176 lawmakers in Greece's 300-seat parliament.
Όχι 76, παρών 2. Μετά την ολοκλήρωση της ψηφοφορίας, το σχέδιο νόμου του Υπουργείου Εργασίας «Ισότητα στον πολιτικό γάμο, τροποποίηση του αστικού κώδικα και άλλες διατάξεις» έγινε δεκτό επί της αρχής, επί των άρθρων και στο σύνολό του κατά πλειοψηφία.
Okay, before we go, we have our big picture for this Friday night, and it is the members of the Alpha Phi Omega fraternity of UP Diliman standing naked at attention for today's annual oblation run. For this year, the fraternity rose up against efforts to amend the 1987 Constitution through a people's initiative. Participating students urge stakeholders to be vigilant and resist attempts to undermine democracy in the country.
Oh, nakapanood na ba kayo nito? Oblation run?
Honestly, never pa.
Hindi
Parang
pa.
ang daming tao natatakot ako sa crowds.
Oo, pero ito, ang pinagmulan pala nito, noong 1977, merong binan si Marcos Sr. na pelikula on human rights violations called Hubad na Bayani. So, in protest to that ban, nangyari tong oblation run. Kaya naghubad
That's good
sila,
to know.
literally.
Yeah.
Pero guess what, no? Alam ko, ang saya ng oblation run, tapos UP Fair pa this
Tama,
weekend.
UP
So, mas
Fair
marami
this
pang
weekend.
tao doon. Pero, guys, actually, ito yung third headline natin kanina. Babalikan
Yes.
ko lang ng mabilis because authorities have actually arrested a woman who was suspected of facilitating the transfer of funds to Islamic State forces in the Philippines. Itong suspect na-identify as Mirna Mabanza at naaresto siya sa Sulu nung Thursday on 5 counts of terror financing violations. She is said to have links to terror groups ISIS and Al-Qaeda, allegedly serving as intermediary between Islamist militant leaders like Isnilon Hapilon.
Siya po ay tumutulong, no? Nag-i-sponsor, nagbibigay ng financial material support sa Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, yung tinatawag natin ISIS. Siya din ay natiktikan ng ating mga intelligence services na siyang naging conduit din ng pera, ng paglilipat ng pera, mga dolyares mula sa ibang bansa or mga supporters ng ISIS papuntas dito sa ating bansa. So, itong mga perang ito ay ginagamit para bumili ng armas, no? Bumili ng mga kagapitan para maghasik ng terorismo sa ating bansa.
Huge catch.
Huge
for
catch,
the
pero it's so
military.
shocking also that she is a woman. And usually kasi I mean, I'm not really kind of there's no gender bias here, no? Pero usually sa Muslim areas, di ba, they don't really let women do these kinds of things. Pero more
In
about...
any case, she's a specially designated global terrorist. As in, that's the official designation. And is on the sanction list of the United Nations Security Council, which according to the CIDG, also, she was a former teacher and was married to an ISIS member based in Malaysia. Authorities said ISIS forces were able to enter the Philippines through Mabanza's help.
At yun nga, no, base nga dun sa investigasyon, involved din siya nung 2017 Marawi siege. Do you guys remember that?
The months-long Marawi siege.
Months-long.
That's true.
Urban warfare.
Siya raw ang recruiter ni Isnilon Hapilon, and then also channeling money from Malaysia, Turkey, Jordan, Indonesia, Qatar, and Saudi into the Philippines to support the training and the operations and also arms
arms dealing and purchasing and procurement.
So those are serious crimes.
It's really serious. So actually, in a broader sense, so ingat-ingat lang kahit na dumadaan lang sa'yo yung pera. Kahit sabihin, Gretchen, pat fund transfer, teka, para saan yan, you know? I think of course, not everyone's a terrorist, but it can be actually a bigger thing that could hit you and blow back in your face. Okay, pwede na natin isa
That's
rin
how we cap off the week. Finally, a conclusion to the NAIA privatization bid.
But they caught the
too.
financier or the bag woman.
And closure at least for the Marawi
siege. The bag
siege.
woman, they caught him. That's a big catch.
It is. Okay.
Marami tayong pang-end ng week. And hope we have a happy weekend moving forward.
Right, that's it for the big story this week.
We're One News All Sides all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night. And a good weekend.